I'm on a quest to find music and art. Supporting local talent is the place I start. Yeah, this is our culture, the place to be. Games, books, arts and crafts and jewelry. This the guardians of the geekery. 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 And now for today's episode of Guardians of the Geekery with your hosts, Matt, Carol, and Joey.
Woohoo! Guardians of the Geekery back celebrating the Geekery market. And this is kind of cool. So we've got someone that, Misty Massey, author, a Shenanigator, just someone you want to know. Anyway, she has not been to the new, bigger, better Geekery market, 30,000 square feet. Last time she did one of these, it was 5,000 square feet. Pshaw. Anyway, we're going to talk about that and all kind of fun stuff. Let the games begin, my friends.
So we'll start off by reminding you that the Geekery Market is Saturday, November 9th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yes.
at the fabulous Barris Arena and Events Center. That you do pay, I think it's $8 per car to come in. So pile all your friends in. Once you get there, it's free. We do ask that you bring a canned good as a donation for Second Harvest, but we want you to be able to come in and just have a good day. And one of the vendors that's going to be there, one of our authors extraordinaire, is the lovely Misty Massey. Woo!
Yeah.
Hi.
So Misty, you're not new to the market, but you're new to the Geekery market. You have been to our previous iteration, the Muggles market, and you were at the comeback session back in February 2023, which was crowded as heck.
Yeah.
Tiny little 5,000
Was.
square feet. And then last year we were in the bigger space and we're like, it's not crowded. Does this mean that we don't have a lot of people there? But we went to 30,000 square feet. So
We had people there. They just had room
Exactly.
yes, and it was very much celebrated that people could walk around without like running over each other. So it was amazing. But so welcome back.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be there.
And you're going to be coming back as part of the Shenanigators. So tell us a little bit what the Shenanigators is, and then tell us a little bit about what you'll be bringing to the market.
Okay. Well, Shenanigators it's an actual writing co-op. We advertise ourselves as Shenanigator Books. We're not a publisher. We are not taking submissions. Please don't send books to us because we'll say, we're so sorry, take your book away. But what we are,
my submission, Misty?
no.
Oh, no.
Maybe someday, but not right now. No, what we are is a we're a writing co-op. We are a group of 5 women who are professional writers, professional editors. We have a publisher in the mix. We have a cover artist one of the ladies is also a cover artist and an editor. So what we do is when we are self-publishing things, we're all published by small presses, but we also self-publish from time to time. And when we work on our own things, then we use each other as resources. So instead of having to pay an editor for a professional edit, we go to one of the other people in the group, whoever's available, and they will edit for us. We work on covers with our cover artist, and that way we can all maximize our abilities to self-publish without maximizing our cost outlay. And we all admire each other's work, and so we all know that we like what we do. And so that's what it is. It's a writing co-op. It's me, Nicole Givens Kurtz, S.H. Roddy, Alexandra Christian, and Crimson Heart.
Yay!
So yeah, and now I think S.H. Roddy and Nicole Kurtz are going to have their own tables at the market. So this time the Shenanigators table will be Crimson, Alexandra, and me, and I will be. I'm not sure what they're going to be bringing to the table. I'll leave that for another time when they can come on and chat with y'all. But I will, of course, be bringing my pirate books, Mad Kestrel and Kestrel's Dance, the sequel. And I will, in addition to that, I will be bringing some ornaments that I have started making. I go to the beach with my family every summer, and so I collect oyster shells and I
Oh,
paint them,
pretty.
yeah, as mermaids, and then finish them off. And so that way you can hang them. You can hang them on your Christmas tree. You can hang them in your window. You can really hang them anywhere you want to. You can, I suppose, make earrings out of them if you really want to. They're a little
I'm always
heavy,
looking for earrings.
there you go.
Giddy geeker. Oh boy.
Well, I'm getting ready to go to the beach with my family soon, and so I was going to get more oyster shells while I'm there. So I'll look for some smaller ones that would be good for earrings, just for you.
That would be lovely. That would be lovely.
Put on my rear view mirror. It's much better than when I go by people have the dream catcher. I'm always like,
Yeah.
be careful driving and catch your dream.
Yeah, please don't be sleeping in your car, having your dreams be caught in your
Yeah,
car.
this makes a lot more
exactly.
sense to me.
So how did
So-
you get started in writing? Was this something you've always wanted to do, or did someone encourage you?
Well, I've always been the kind that made up her own stories ever since I was little. And for a while, playing D&D satisfied that need. When I was a teenager, I started playing D&D with some friends. And so that story creation need was satisfied by that. But then eventually moved away to college and got married and didn't write as much for a while. And then I had a baby, and I was home by myself with no other adult humans to talk to, because this was well, it wasn't pre-internet. It was 93, but it was still kind of pre-internet because you didn't
Yeah.
really chat with people a lot back then. And so in order to find something to keep myself entertained while my very sleepy kid was sleeping, because he was a great baby, he slept a lot. And so while he was sleeping and my husband was at work, I would sit down and start just writing stories to keep myself entertained. And eventually found a writing group here in town where I live that included Faith Hunter, the very well-known fantasy author, writes the Jane Yellow Rock series. And she took me under her wing and really helped me develop my abilities, and eventually said, I'm tired of you writing short stories. If you don't write a novel, I'm going to twist your arm. And so I started writing. I was working on something else at the time, and I eventually started writing Mad Kestrel, which is my first novel to get published. And it's a story about a young woman who's a pirate. She can do magic. She has to keep it a secret or she'll be locked away. But when her captain is abducted, the only thing that can save him is her magic. And it was eventually put under contract with Tor Books, and came out originally from them. But then a couple of years later, my editor passed away, and the woman who was directly involved with the work under him left publishing, and so my book became orphaned. So I took it to a small press, and now I published the second one from that small press. So, and that's what I'm working on. The third one, I'll go with the third one to that other small press as well. So,
Which small press do you work with?
Lore Seekers. It's an imprint of Bella Rosa Books. So, yeah. But the third one is probably next year. I'm working kind of slowly. I'm a slow pokey writer, but
But it gets done. It gets done
does
eventually.
get done. It does get done.
Well, it's
And
not
then-
like you're editing a bunch of other people's works,
Yeah,
doing
that's
an
true.
Authors and Dragons podcast, going around to conventions, helping out with other things. You know, you're just sitting there all day at your house doing nothing. What is wrong with you?
Right. That's absolutely true.
I will say too, some of the biggest things in publishing and music and things like that are things that artists that were not fast writers or fast producers at all, especially like Led Zeppelin. Like, where it's just
George
like,
R. Martin.
album
you know?
might be coming, yeah, so
He
it's,
writes just not what we want
Yeah.
him to write.
I just much rather would have quality and something that I can say, oh wow, the author really nailed it again with this, and it's the same quality. But when people just, there's some, some people, they get into that, oh, we just have to pump it out, whether it's a publisher pressuring them or some outside force, a producer, then you're like, wow, that's not quite as good as that. So much rather it be great. So yeah.
There's a philosophy in the writing community that you should just vomit words onto the page and clean them up later. And I have tried. I really have tried, but I can't. It has to be as good as I can make it the first time around. And now, granted, I do end up revising. Mad Kestrel was revised 3 times before it came out from tour, so there is still room for improvement. But I have been told that I turn in exceptionally clean copy, and that's because I go so slow and I edit every page before I move on. And it's just how I am. So I've come to understand that I can't really do that whole vomit onto the page thing like some people can and write really fast. It's just not me.
Do you find that that's a symptom that you because you're also an editor, you find yourself editing your own work as you go along?
It's possible. It's entirely possible. Yeah. Because I will go back sometimes and go, wait, no, I can't walk away from this paragraph. This is terrible. I got to fix this. And so even though I know, and I can be in the middle of a writing jag and go, nope, I got to stop. So, but
I know I had the pleasure to hang out with you guys in your writing group back when I worked down in the area and get together on Thursdays. And
yeah.
I have been thinking about going back to my work because I put it off. And not like I have other things going on either, but there's this one paragraph that I keep editing in my mind and I don't even remember what the words are anymore. I just know it's bad and I know I need to go fix it. And yet I spent hours on it because it was about the main protagonist sliding across a wall with her back to the wall, trying to avoid detection. And I remember like trying to move that way to make sure it was possible and all this stuff. And I'm like, all that description does not need to be there. I just need to cut that out.
Have I ever told you what I made my husband do back in the early days of when Mad Kestrel was still being written?
Tell us again.
Oh God. Okay. Back then, I was a lot younger then. My husband was a lot younger then. So promise, this was back when he could still physically do this and not risk injury. Well, not risk much injury, but we drove a big Chevrolet Blazer SUV back then, and I was writing a scene in Mad Kestrel where Kestrel was up on a low roof and needed to jump down and take her sword with her. And I just couldn't see it. I could not see how she would land. And so I got my husband to go out in the yard. We pulled the SUV into the grass and he climbed up on the roof of the SUV and he held a sword because, we're Rennie people too. We have swords all over the house. So he held one of the swords and he practiced jumping off and hitting the ground and rolling for like half an hour so that I could watch and I would be able to write that scene. And now I'm like, what if he had gotten hurt? I'm the worst wife ever, but he is the best husband ever. And so, it balances out.
Now you have one of those little IKEA models, right? Where you can bend the body into different ways if it works.
I really should.
Your husband's like, please use this instead.
I've also made him and my son act out fight scenes very slowly, just so that I know that I've got only 2 arms per person, 2 legs per person, and but that's just that's in the living room. Nobody's jumping off things when I do that.
Or so you say, right?
I am
absolutely nobody's jumping off of anything.
I am absolutely sticking to my story.
So what's the one thing that you would tell? I'm stealing your question, Carol. What's the one thing that you as a publisher would tell like first-time writers or newer writers when they're getting ready to submit their story or getting ready to their editors, things they should do and things they shouldn't do? Maybe one each. It doesn't have to be the most important, just something you wish they would understand.
Well, there's probably 2 things. One, you've got to read pretty prolifically, not just the genre you want to write in, but read across the board if you can stomach it, because you never know what other authors are doing unless you read what's coming out. And you don't want to be the person who writes this really brilliant serial killer novel, and oh, it's great because here's a bad serial killer and he has to advise a young up and coming FBI agent, and that's great, nobody's done this before, and then you turn it into your editor and he goes, I've read Silence of the Lambs. We got to try again. So you got to read what's coming out. You got to know what other people are doing so that you don't accidentally. And I'm not saying that you're gonna plagiarize. I'm saying it happens accidentally. Some trends just become, they're organic, and you don't know what somebody else has done, and all of a sudden you find yourself writing something that's very similar. So read what other people are doing and know what's selling. No, that way you don't repeat what somebody else has done, but you also know what is selling and you can work from there. So that's one thing I absolutely recommend, that you've got to be a reader if you want to be a successful writer. And the other thing is, follow the guidelines that the publisher sets out. If the publisher says they only want something turned in Courier, a size 11 font, then do it in Courier size 11. I don't care if you think it's ugly. That's what they ask for, and that's what they want. They have reasons for the things that they say. If they say all double spaced and size 12, don't turn it in single spaced in size 8, because it's very possible that you've got a publisher who's got eyes like mine and is going, I can't see that, and I mean, yes, in these days and times, we could easily take the manuscript and blow it up and make it bigger to read it.
Mm-hmm.
But what that says is you didn't want to bother following our rules. And so if you're not willing to follow the rules at this point where it's easy, what's going to happen when it's time for revisions and we start suggesting things that you don't want to deal with? Is it all going to, are you going to end up being the kind of the writer that we have to fire? So, and you don't want that.
Yeah.
So follow the guidelines. Make yourself somebody that people want to work with. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. That is perfect advice. And it's actually applicable in life. As a recruiter, I can tell you, if you don't want to bother filling things out during your resume, I can only assume what you're going to do when we hire you. And if your resume has typos all through it, if your resume lists a job you had 3 jobs ago and you don't have an updated one, I have many superpowers. One of them is not mind reading. Okay. So I don't know. I had a guy the other day that applied for a job and it was a director level job, and it still said he was an associate because his resume was 2 versions ago.
right.
And he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I just love the cattail just sticking out of nowhere."
She's fine until we start, and then it's like, oh, I need to be in your face now. I need to be right here.
I love you, mommy.
Yeah. You're talking. You're on camera. Let me get in the way. Here's my tail.
So this is coming out the day before Con Carolinas, and you will not be there, right, Misty?
I will be at the beach.
But many people
She'll
may
be
not
collecting
know
oyster
that
shells.
you are behind the scenes on a lot of the writers' stuff, the track and the applications and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna implore you to also give maybe some advice to writers who are wanting to be part of a convention, maybe some standard practices or etiquettes that may be good, or ways that they could get themselves invited or accepted into a show like Con Carolinas.
Yeah, Con Carolinas is a fabulous event. I was the writing track director I was a writer guest for a few years, and then I became the writing track director because somebody came to me and said, "Please help me."
Take this off my hands. It's too much. I can't do it anymore. Yeah.
And I had a great time working with you, and then later with the others after you took your break for a while. And so I loved working with Con Carolinas. So many fabulous authors apply to Con Carolinas every year, and unfortunately, I don't know how it is this year, because this year I haven't actually worked with the con, but in years past we only had about 40 spots, and we would get sometimes 200 applications.
Yeah, it's
And
the same.
okay, all right, so it's still like that, and so it's nothing against a writer. We generally don't look at the applications and go, well, I don't like him because he has red hair, or I don't like her because she wrote a romance book, and we don't want that. We don't look at that. That's not what we're choosing on. What we do is we end up trying to find the best mix of different authors. We try to get some authors that have never been before, some authors that are guaranteed draws that we know will bring in a lot of people from the community to see them. So there are lots of aspects to choosing author guests for these kinds of things. One thing you can do, have a lot to offer. If you are somebody um, who works from home and has written one book 5 years ago and you haven't done anything since then, your application is going to pale against somebody who has written 5 books in that 5 years and is on a podcast and uh, performs with a German Oompa band on the weekends and stuff like that. If you have a lot to offer, and don't discount the things you have to offer. Don't say, oh, well, I just do professional square dancing and wear and carry a sword on my head while I do it, and nobody wants to know about that. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. That stuff is awesome. That is catnip to people who are putting together a show. So yeah, absolutely. List all that stuff. Tell us everything. Also, another thing that I think is really important, have a web presence. Really, in this day and age, if you're trying to be a professional creator, there's no reason not to have some sort of web presence. And that doesn't mean you have to go spend the money for buying a domain and hosting and have your own website, although we really do like it. You can create a web presence on Facebook. You can make a group for yourself. You can make an author page on Facebook for yourself. You can do a free blog online. There are all kinds of ways to give yourself a web presence, but give yourself a web presence so that when we look at your application, we can follow it and go find out more about you. And that just helps you be more of a draw and more interesting. So
Awesome. Yeah, it's one of the hardest things is how many authors apply to events and needing to do that rotation. And exactly what you said. There are some that are prolific, or they're part of a co-op, or they're part of something. So maybe they themselves are slower writers, but they're part of a group that has new titles every year.
Right.
And so, and then, like you said, what they might bring to the table is their ability to be on panels, to moderate, to do X, Y, Z. And so, yes, maybe they've only published 1 or 2 or 3 books, but they bring other stuff to the table, and they're part of a bigger thing. And it's so tough, especially this year. We had to turn so many people down at the market, and then you stroll by them at other events and you make the point of stopping and saying, hi, how are you? So sorry this year didn't work out, but we cannot wait for you to apply again, because you really, it's not, there's only 1 or 2 people where it's personal.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it's those people that, are not good sellers to sit next to, where they are hogging attention or space or whatever, or they've given my staff problems or whatever, then that's personal.
Right.
And I'll tell you to your face.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. If it's personal, you'll probably know. We will probably already have told you. So
yeah. If you've annoyed Wanda, Sorry, it's not, because she's
Over.
the kindest, sweetest of us all. So
Right.
if you're on her list, you're on my list for life. That's all there is to it. So,
Absolutely.
but the rest of it, yeah, and people do have a lot to offer. Like, I think about you, your Mad Kestrel and your pirates in your background there, but like you said, you're a Rennie and you've done belly dancing and you've done editing and all this other stuff. And there's a lot, and the Dungeons and Dragons, the Barbie, your Barbie character and all that
Right.
kind of stuff. So it's great. Well, Misty, if people want to find you, where would they look online?
I'm lost. Some days I am lost. No, you can find me online at mistymassey.com. You can find me on Facebook, on the site formerly known as Twitter. Yeah, I'm still there occasionally. I'm on Blue Sky more often, and I am also on TikTok as often as I can be. I love making videos on TikTok, although they aren't always to do with books. Sometimes I'm just being silly, but come find me on TikTok and play with me. And I will be doing an event this summer called Saga, which is a writing conference, and it's happening in concert with Congregate in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Saga is a writing conference that is geared toward writing specifically for people who really want to increase their career and make writing their permanent career. So we have some amazing authors coming to offer classes during that. And our guest of honor is Maurice Broaddus. So we're very excited this summer. If you want to know more about the Saga Conference, you can go to sagaconference.com and see the kinds of classes and see how to sign up and everything. But that's going to be happening in July. And then I will be at Multiverse in Atlanta in October. And I will be at the market in November, and I'll be at RollCon also in November.
Oh, nice. I haven't heard of
Yeah.
RollCon, so.
It's a little con in Kershaw County, South Carolina, and they do it with the library there, and so it's really neat. It's a lot of fun. So
library cons are the best. They really are, because it's people that are all about the reading, right? And then for SagaCon, it's not just the writing side of the business, but the business side of the business too. So like, I know last year when I volunteered, there were classes on like the tax parts of it and networking and all sorts of different actual business ops kind of things, as well as the writing part. So
exactly. Yes, we've got a business track and a writing track, a creative track essentially. And so if you can compare the two classes being offered at any given time and decide which one suits you more. So
that's awesome. Well, Misty, thank you so much for being part of our event today. We cannot wait to see you in November. We can't wait for you to see how big we've gotten.
I'm
and all the stuff,
excited.
all the room. It's just like, you just want to do twirls and be like, so much room for activities. So in fact, we do that, by the way, in case you haven't figured that out. So but we will see you then. Thank you so much for today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me. Y'all take care.
Bye.
That was an episode of Guardians of the Geekery. Thank you for listening. Check us out at guardiansofthegeekery.com and stay tuned for more content.